Everyone goes to Sydney, the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, the Instagram photos you've seen 1,000 times before you even book the flight. And don't get me wrong, Sydney is stunning. But here's what nobody's saying out loud. Australia's most unforgettable places? They're not in Sydney, not even close. Picture red deserts that glow like embers at dusk, towns carved into cliff faces, rainforests older than the dinosaurs, beaches where the sand squeaks beneath your feet and you share the horizon with no one. This country is enormous, nearly the size of the continental United States, and most people see about 1% of it. I've spent months chasing the other 99. What I found changed the way I think about travel entirely. These are places where time moves differently, where the locals still wave at strangers, where the landscape does something to you that no postcard ever could. So if you've ever dreamed of discovering an Australia that doesn't feel like a tourist brochure, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll have 10 of them. And trust me, number 1, I still can't believe a place like this exists on Earth. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Let's go.
Number 10. Beechworth, Victoria. Picture this. It's early morning in the Victorian high country. The mist hasn't lifted yet. It's sitting low over the valleys, soft and grey, curling around the corners of old stone buildings, like it has for 150 years. The smell of wood smoke drifts from somewhere nearby. A bakery is just opening its shutters. And as you walk down Ford Street, past the granite buildings that haven't changed since the gold rush, you get this feeling, quiet and unsettling, that time forgot to come here. Beechworth is a gold rush town, and unlike most gold rush towns, which either collapsed into ghost towns or got swallowed by modern development, Beechworth survived intact. More than 30 of its buildings are classified by the National Trust. You walk its streets, and the 1850s aren't historical. They're just there, beside you, breathing. But the story of Beechworth isn't just gold. It's Ned Kelly. Australia's most notorious outlaw was tried here, in the courthouse that still stands on the main street. You can walk inside, sit in the gallery, look at the dock where a 25-year-old bushranger stood and faced a justice system that had been hunting him for years. There's something that grips you in that room. A heaviness. A presence. The surrounding landscape doesn't let you go either. The Beechworth Gorge walking track leads you through ancient granite formations, past swimming holes and twisted river gums. In autumn, the elm trees that line the streets turn gold, and the whole town looks like it's been painted by someone who loved it very much. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Beechworth is home to one of the most celebrated bakeries in all of Australia. The Beechworth Bakery has been turning out handmade pies, pastries, and sourdough since 1984 and has served over 70 million customers. 70 million. For a town of under 3,000 people, that number doesn't make sense until you taste the food, and then it makes perfect sense. Beechworth is proof that some places don't need to reinvent themselves. They just need to be left alone long enough to become irreplaceable. Number 9. Broome, Western Australia. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine standing at the edge of the world, a place where the red Pindon earth meets a turquoise ocean so vivid it doesn't look real. The sun is going down over Cable Beach, and the sky has caught fire. Coral and amber and deep violet. And there's a camel walking along the tide line, silhouetted against all of it. That's Broome. And photographs cannot do it justice. I've tried. Broome sits on the Kimberley coast of Western Australia, a remote, ancient region that most Australians have never even visited. Getting there takes effort. That's part of the point. The distance filters something. The people who make it here are the kind of people who actually want to be somewhere, not just pass through. The town itself has a layered, complicated soul. For thousands of years, this coast belonged to the Yawuru people, whose connection to the land and sea is woven into every place name, every ceremony, every tide. Then came the pearling industry in the 1880s, which transformed Broome into one of the most multicultural towns in the country. Japanese, Malay, Chinese, and Aboriginal cultures mingling in the heat, building a community that was utterly unlike anywhere else in Australia. The pearling history runs deep here. Broome once supplied 80% of the world's mother of pearl. The Japanese cemetery, overlooking Roebuck Bay, holds the graves of hundreds of pearl divers who died at sea, mostly young men, far from home. You stand there in the heat and feel the weight of it. The sacrifice folded into this beautiful place. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Broome is home to the staircase to the moon. On certain nights between March and October, when the full moon rises over the exposed mudflats of Roebuck Bay at low tide, its reflection creates an optical illusion of a staircase reaching all the way up to the moon. Locals gather at Town Beach with food and wine and watch it happen. It's one of the most extraordinary natural events in Australia, and almost nobody outside Western Australia knows it exists. Some places make you feel small in the best possible way. Broome is one of them. Number 8. Katoomba, New South Wales. You smell it before you see it, that deep, blue-tinged haze hanging over the valleys. The eucalyptus oil released by millions of gum trees, suspended in the air, turning the distance a hazy shade of cobalt. The Blue Mountains don't look like any other mountain range on Earth. They look like a painting someone made from memory, not from life. Katoomba is the beating heart of the Blue Mountains, a small town perched at the edge of a sandstone escarpment, staring out over valleys so deep and wide that you lose your sense of scale entirely. The Three Sisters rock formation stands at the edge of Echo Point, 3 ancient sandstone pillars rising from the valley floor, named after a dreaming story of 3 sisters turned to stone to protect them from danger. Whether you know the story or not, standing in front of them in the early morning, with mist rolling through the valley below, something shifts in you. Katoomba itself has a bohemian, slightly faded quality that I love. Art Deco buildings, independent bookshops, cafes run by people who moved here because they couldn't imagine living anywhere else. The Great Western Highway brought tourism in the early 20th century, and the town built grand guest houses and tea rooms for the visitors, some of which still operate today in various states of elegant decay. But the real story of Katoomba is the wilderness. The Blue Mountains National Park stretches for over 1 million hectares, protecting one of the most biodiverse temperate regions in the world. Walks range from the leisurely clifftop promenades to the brutal descent into the valley via the giant stairway, 600 steps cut into the cliff face, where the forest closes around you and the world above disappears. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The Blue Mountains were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2000, recognized as one of the 8 most significant conservation areas on Earth. But what's truly extraordinary is the reason. The mountain range is home to over 400 animal species, 270 bird species, and 13 plant species that exist absolutely nowhere else on the planet. There's a word the Gundungurra people use for this place. It means something close to belonging. You'll understand it the moment you arrive. Number 7. Hahndorf, South Australia. Nobody expects Germany in the Adelaide Hills. That's exactly what makes it so disarming. Drive 45 minutes east of Adelaide, climb into the rolling hills where the gum trees give way to something altogether different, and you'll find it. A village of half-timbered buildings, Lutheran spires, and copper-roofed shops lining a tree-lined main street that could have been transplanted directly from Bavaria. Hahndorf. And if your first reaction is bewilderment, trust it. That feeling is appropriate. This is Australia's oldest surviving German settlement. In 1839, a group of Lutheran migrants fleeing religious persecution in Prussia sailed for South Australia and founded a community in the hills above Adelaide. They named it after the captain of their ship, Captain Dirk Hahn. And they built it exactly as they would have built a village at home, with the architecture, the food traditions, the church music, and the sense of community they'd carried across the ocean. What's remarkable is how much survives. The main street, called the Parade, is lined with 19th century buildings that are still in use. The smell of bratwurst and freshly baked strudel genuinely floats through the air on cool mornings. Local artisans still work in the old craft traditions, and the Lutheran Church, built in 1857, still holds regular services in the same building where those first settlers prayed. But Hahndorf isn't a museum piece or a theme park. It's a living town. The surrounding hills are wine country. Some of the best Shiraz in Australia comes from these slopes, and the local cellar doors pour with a generosity that feels distinctly European. Small galleries showcase contemporary Australian art alongside German folk traditions. There's a depth here that surprises people. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Hahndorf almost ceased to exist. During World War I, anti-German sentiment swept Australia, and the town was officially renamed Ambleside. For 30 years, the German heritage was suppressed, the language discouraged, the identity buried. In 1935, after community protest and persistence, the name Hahndorf was restored. The town chose to remember. Some places survive not because they were forgotten, but because they refused to be. Number 6. Queenstown, Tasmania. The first time you see Queenstown, you think something has gone terribly wrong. The hills surrounding the town are bare. Not just cleared, bare, raw. The slopes of Mount Owen are purple and orange and red and green, streaked with mineral deposits, stripped of every tree, glowing like the surface of another planet. It looks like a wound in the earth, or like a landscape that's been through something, which it has. Queenstown is a mining town on Tasmania's west coast. For over a century, copper was pulled from these mountains in massive quantities. The smelters burned continuously, releasing sulfur dioxide into the air. The acid rain killed the vegetation. The rains washed the topsoil away, and what was left was this extraordinary alien landscape, scarred and brilliant and unlike anything else on Earth. Here's the tension at the heart of Queenstown. It's beautiful precisely because of the destruction, and the people who live here are divided about that. Some want the trees to come back, others, and there's fierce local pride in this, want the bare hills to stay, because this is what Queenstown is. It's not pretty in the way postcards are pretty. It's raw, industrial, honest. The town itself is a fascinating relic. At its peak in the early 20th century, Queenstown had 20,000 residents, a theatre, a bowling alley, and more hotels than you could count. Today, it has under 2,000 people, but what remains has an incredible integrity. Art Deco facades, the historic Galley Museum packed with mining memorabilia, and the Empire Hotel, which has been serving drinks since 1901. But wait, it gets better. Queenstown recently received its own rack railway, the West Coast Wilderness Railway, which winds through some of the most spectacular and inaccessible rainforest in Australia, connecting the town to Strahan on the coast. Riding it is like traveling through a world that the 20th century missed. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Scientists who've studied the Bear Hills have discovered something extraordinary. The moonscape effect, created by a century of pollution, has inadvertently preserved a geological record visible almost nowhere else. The mineral colours you see on those hillsides, the purples and ochres and greens, are literally the Earth's chemical history, exposed and readable like pages in a book. Queenstown didn't survive despite its scars. It became extraordinary because of them. Number 5. Coober, Pedy, South Australia. What if I told you there's a town in the Australian outback where most people live underground? Not metaphorically, literally underground. Coober, Pedy sits in the South Australian desert, 500 kilometres north of Port Augusta, in a landscape so brutally hot that summer temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. When the first opal miners arrived in the early 20th century, they quickly discovered that the only comfortable place to live wasn't above the ground. It was below it. They started digging, and they never really stopped. Today, Coober, Pedy is the opal mining capital of the world. It supplies around 80% of the global opal supply. The earth beneath this town is shot through with veins of iridescent colour. Blues and greens and purples and reds that shift as you move, like watching oil move on water, or light breaking through a prism. To hold a piece of Coober, Pedy opal is to hold something that seems almost alive. The dugouts, the underground homes carved into the hills, are remarkable. They maintain a constant temperature of around 23 degrees year-round, require no air conditioning, and can be expanded simply by digging further into the hillside. The town has underground churches, an underground art gallery, an underground hotel. You sleep below the surface of the earth in absolute silence and darkness, and it's the best night's sleep you've ever had. The landscape above ground is unlike anything else in Australia. The mullock heaps, mounds of spoil from mining operations, dot the horizon in every direction. The terrain is lunar, desolate, spectacular. Mad Max. Beyond Thunderdome was filmed here, and the moment you arrive, you understand exactly why. And here's the thing nobody tells you. There is no fencing in Coober, Pedy. None. You can wander anywhere, because the ground is so unstable, riddled with shafts and tunnels, that any fence post driven into the earth might puncture someone's living room ceiling. The whole town is, in the most literal sense, built on air. Coober, Pedy doesn't look like anywhere you've ever been, because nowhere else on earth looks like Coober, Pedy. Number 4. Airlie Beach, Queensland. There's a moment, and you'll know it when it happens. When you're standing on a boat somewhere in the Whitsunday Islands, the water is a colour that doesn't have a name yet, and the islands are rising from the sea around you in dark green curves, and you think, how is this real? Airlie Beach is the gateway to the Whitsundays, the string of 74 islands tucked between the Queensland coast and the Great Barrier Reef. It's a small town of maybe 4,000 people, but in peak season, it feels like the whole world passes through. Backpackers, honeymooners, sailors, divers. People who came for a week and stayed for 3 years. You see that look in their eyes. The look of someone who got stranded somewhere too good to leave. The town itself is unpretentious and a little wild. There's a famous saltwater swimming lagoon on the foreshore, because the waters offshore are home to marine stingers from October to May, making ocean swimming genuinely dangerous without protection. The main street curves up into the hills, lined with seafood restaurants and dive shops, and accommodation ranging from 5-star resorts to backpacker hostels where people compare sunburns and share travel stories until 2 in the morning. But the real Airlie Beach isn't in the town, it's out there, on the water. Whitsunday Island is home to Whitehaven Beach, which many consider the most beautiful beach in the world. 74% pure silica sand that doesn't retain heat, stays white even on the hottest day, and squeaks underfoot. At Hill Inlet, the swirling patterns of sand and water photographed from above look like abstract paintings. From sea level, you stand at the edge of something almost too perfect to be natural. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The Whitsunday Islands are not a protected national park as a whole. Development pressures have long threatened parts of the region. But the waters here are part of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, and the bleaching events caused by rising ocean temperatures have hit this area with increasing frequency. What you see here today may not look the same in 20 years. That's not meant to be grim, it's meant to be honest. Some places deserve to be seen with urgency. Airlie Beach reminds you that some of the most extraordinary places on Earth are also the most fragile. Number 3. Margaret River, Western Australia. I've been to a lot of places, but this one stopped me. Margaret River sits in the southwestern corner of Australia, a region so geographically and climatically distinct from the rest of the country that scientists call it a biodiversity hotspot. It's a 3-hour drive south of Perth, and it exists in its own world, lush and green and deeply, unhurriedly beautiful. Most people know Margaret River for the wine, and yes, the Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnays produced here are genuinely world-class. The maritime climate, moderated by the Indian Ocean, creates conditions unlike anywhere else on the Australian continent. The cellar doors are warm and knowledgeable and pour with an easy confidence. You can taste the difference this place makes in a glass. But Margaret River is so much more than wine. The coast here is extraordinary. Massive granite headlands, wild surf beaches, blowholes and sea caves carved by millennia of southern ocean swells. The surf breaks at places like Surfers Point draw professional competitions and quietly obsessive locals who've been chasing these waves their entire lives. The forest, stands of ancient curry and jarrah trees, rise over 60 meters into the air, their red and grey trunks so massive that 5 people holding hands can't encircle them. The caves are what genuinely astonish. The entire region sits above a limestone system riddled with cave networks. Jewel Cave, Lake Cave, Mammoth Cave, where stalactites and stalagmites have been building for hundreds of thousands of years. In Lake Cave, an underground lake perfectly reflects the limestone formations above it, creating a mirror world that's almost impossible to process. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The Leeuwin Naturalist Ridge, the limestone spine running under this region, was a crucial land bridge during periods of lower sea levels in the last ice age. The caves beneath Margaret River aren't just geological formations, they're archives. Paleontologists have found the bones of megafauna, inside these caves. Giant kangaroos, wombats the size of cars, creatures that haven't walked the earth for tens of thousands of years. You're never just visiting a place, you're visiting everything that happened there before you arrived. Number 2. Hervey Bay, Queensland. Watch this. A humpback whale, 40 tons of it, rises vertically from the water alongside your boat. It hangs there for a moment, that barnacled white belly and those pleated grooves exposed to the air, and then it slides back into the sea with a sound like a cathedral door closing. The boat rocks, no one speaks, and then everyone speaks at once. Hervey Bay is the humpback whale watching capital of the world, not just Australia, the world. Every year between July and November, thousands of humpback whales migrate north along the Australian coast after feeding in Antarctic waters. Hervey Bay's position, sheltered behind Fraser Island, the world's largest sand island, creates a calm, protected bay that the whales use as a resting and socializing area before completing their journey. They stop here. They play here. Mothers and calves splash and roll and breach in the shallower waters, and the adults seem, there's no other word for it, curious about the boats. The whale watching encounters here are different from anywhere else, because the whales aren't passing through, they're staying. An encounter that lasts 2 minutes in most places can last 2 hours in Hervey Bay. Whales approach vessels voluntarily. They turn on their sides to look at you with those enormous, intelligent eyes. I know how that sounds. I'm telling you it's true. The town of Hervey Bay itself is gentle and relaxed. It's a long, low town stretched along the bay. A series of quiet beachside suburbs without a great deal of pretension. The Esplanade offers long, calm walks. The seafood is exceptional. Moreton Bay bugs, fresh oysters, barramundi pulled from local waters. There's no nightlife scene to speak of, and this is absolutely correct. Hervey Bay is not that kind of place. It's a place for people who know how to be still. And here's the thing nobody tells you. In recent decades, scientists have noticed that the humpback whale population using Hervey Bay has shifted behavior. Younger whales, in particular, have been recorded approaching boats with increasing frequency. Some researchers believe the whales, whose populations have partially recovered since the end of commercial whaling, are exhibiting what can only be called social curiosity. They are, in some sense, coming to see us. Think about that the next time a 40-ton animal chooses to surface beside your boat and look you in the eye. Number 1. Cradle Mountain, Tasmania. Nothing can prepare you for this. You've seen the photograph. The perfect reflection of Cradle Mountain's jagged dolerite peaks in the dark water of Dove Lake. You've seen it on calendars, on screensavers, on the covers of travel magazines. You've seen it so many times that you think you've understood it. You haven't. No photograph has ever done it justice, because photographs can't contain what this place actually does to you. Cradle Mountain sits in the heart of Tasmania's wilderness, a rugged, ancient, deeply alive piece of the world that feels like it belongs to a time before human memory. The dolerite peaks, formed by magma that cooled underground and was then exposed over millions of years by glacial action, rise in serrated spires above glacially carved lakes and moorlands thick with cushion plants that have been growing slowly, millimeter by millimeter, for thousands of years. The drive-in changes something in you. The road narrows, the trees close overhead, the air changes temperature and quality, and then the valley opens up, and there it is, the mountain, the lake, the absolute silence broken only by the wind through the button grass and the call of a currawong somewhere in the pines. And you feel, very precisely, the smallness of yourself against the scale of geological time. The overland track begins here, 65 kilometers of wilderness, walking through some of the most remote and spectacular terrain in Australia.
But you don't need to do the full trek to feel what this place offers. The Dove Lake Circuit, a 6-kilometer walk around the lake, beneath the mountain, through alpine forest and along rocky shores, gives you a full encounter with Cradle Mountain in about 2.5 hours. I've walked it in sunshine and in sleet and in fog so thick I couldn't see my own hand. Every version was extraordinary. The wildlife here is astonishing. Wombats wander along the paths at dusk with total indifference to human presence. Bennett's wallabies graze in the meadows. If you're very still at dawn, you might hear the extraordinary cackling laugh of a kookaburra or spot a Tasmanian devil moving through the undergrowth. These animals are genuinely wild, not performing wildness for tourists, but living it. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Cradle Mountain is part of the Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Area, which covers roughly 1/4 of the entire state of Tasmania. This is the largest area of temperate rainforest in the southern hemisphere. The oldest trees here were alive when the Roman Empire was still standing. The cushion plants you walk past can be 4,000 years old. 4,000. I've been to many places on this earth that made me feel something beyond words. But standing at the edge of Dove Lake at first light, watching the mist lift off the water and the mountain emerge from it, its reflection slowly clarifying in the still surface below, I have felt, every single time, that I am in the presence of something sacred. Not religious, not mystical, just genuinely, quietly sacred. Cradle Mountain doesn't need your appreciation. It exists entirely outside the need for human witness. But standing here, you'll be grateful, deeply grateful, that you made the trip. We just traveled across an entire continent without leaving our seats. From the gold rush streets of Beechworth to that staircase to the moon over Roebuck Bay. From the alien bare hills of Queenstown to the underground silence of Coober Pedy. From whale watching in the calm of Hervey Bay to standing alone at the edge of a lake so still it turns a mountain into a mirror. Australia is a country that rewards the people who go looking. Not for the obvious, not for the postcard, but for the real thing. The places that carry actual weight, that have genuinely happened, that stay with you long after you've come home and unpacked and gone back to ordinary life. And I want to hear from you, right now, in the comments. Which of these 10 towns surprised you the most? Which one is already in your plans? Or maybe there's a place I missed, somewhere you've been in Australia that you think deserves to be on a list like this. Tell me. I read every single comment, and sometimes the best travel recommendations come from the people watching. If this video gave you something, a new destination, a new perspective, a new reason to look beyond the obvious, then hit subscribe, because this is what we do here. Every week, we find the places that don't make the front page. And next week, we're going somewhere that makes today's list look ordinary. I'm not exaggerating. I genuinely cannot wait to show you. Until then, keep going somewhere, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. I'll see you out there.